I will concede that I think the anger is misguided. I do not. How can you say that fiscal policy and monetary policy is having no impact to doubling the cost of the median home price in 2 short years? We went from like 200 something thousand in 2019 to $400,000.
I don't think the jump was that great, but I also think there was a lot of things that happened in that period that created demand and by the way.
Tomas, we are back, my friend. You know what that means. Time for a little bit more Tasty Live with the moment I've been waiting for, and I hope you have too. I know you are on social media. Victor Jones, hear me out, my friend. Look at us. You know what? I'm gonna give me a Victor.
Tony, Tasty Nation, how you doing?
How is the company man doing over there?
I'm doing terrific. I've turned a new leaf. I've been out wandering, searching for myself, finding my soul, Thomas. Before your eyes glaze over, I'll look at you. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a company man all of a sudden, and I'm ready to get back in the chair and get going.
You were a husband, a father, and a company man. Last time you were here, you just weren't very good at it.
So here's the way I would say it, Tom. You don't got to put my business all over the internet. Here's the way I would say it, okay?
No, it wasn't.
There's a bunch of landowners out there who've bought homes in the past. When you buy a home, what do? You send a home inspector. The inspector checks the foundation of the home. No matter how nice the home is on the outside, how fancy your bathrooms are.
You had some leaks.
The foundation in some homes need to be addressed before you can put bricks on the top. I was addressing my foundation, Tom.
You're only as good as your foundation. I agree with you.
That's right.
Only as strong.
I'm solid as a rock now, baby. What's going on, gentlemen?
You ready to do this? You lost some weight.
I lost a little bit of weight. I lost 40 pounds, and I put 15 back on because of your lunches out there.
No.
But I'm ready to go.
No, because your mom's home cooking.
My mom's home cooking. Okay, sure, that works.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, are you guys ready to talk? First of all, can I say this? I have been at home for about 13 months, rage screaming at my phone, at my computer. I've been watching you, Tom, and your opinions. You're the GOAT when it comes to your market opinion. I will give you that.
Not lately.
But your social commentary on what's happening outside infuriates me. And I want to talk about wealth inequality. You guys down?
Sure. You're not alone, by the way. You seem to be more. It seems to be more 50-50 than the picture that Tom paints. And we had a nice discussion at the table too. And it seems like you're a little bit on the dark side, on the bad side here of things.
Dark side. I am down the rabbit hole, my friend. I had 13 months to do nothing but watch conspiracy theories on YouTube.
Go ahead.
Ready?
Give it to me.
I've been. Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready for this day. I'm ready for Thursdays at 8:40. I'm ready for Sunday nights, and I'm ready for your new show. What is it called?
What a great promoter. Okay, let's get the business out of the way.
What is the new show called? It's called The Price of Truth.
The new show is called The Price of Truth, and it has nothing to do with me being a truth speaker or whatever. I believe liquid, competitive, and frictionless markets are the closest thing that we have to the truth out there, and everybody's got their own spin. The left side's saying one thing, the right side's saying another thing, and I think as a trader, the most objective I've ever been, and I had it before and after, the most objective I've ever been is when I listen to asset prices. 13 months away from the market, I'm reading narratives.
Now you're an efficient market theorist. Look what happened. 13 months away and you become an efficient market theorist.
I had to go away from you to adopt the theory.
Oh, okay.
13 months away, and I'm realizing, I'm kind of getting radicalized. I'm buying into these narratives. I'm reading, I'm agreeing with the binary side, left or right.
I'm available every single night to do this with you. Any night, anytime. You don't have a guest show up, you need a host, you need a co-host, whatever you need, I'm available.
Okay. I'm also, my wife was tired of me arguing with her, so she says, you need to go back to Tasty and argue with Tom and Tony. Here's my point. A couple of weeks, or I think it was a week before Davos. You know what Davos is? You ever been to Davos? I figure you as a guy, you've probably been there once or twice.
Switzerland.
You've never been there?
No, never been to Switzerland.
Never been to the World Economic Forum? I figure you run in those crowds.
I would sooner light myself on fire than go to Davos.
You know, that's what they tell all of the inside circle to say when they get back from their meetings.
And then they high-five each other when they get in their room.
There's a special high-five.
How many people did you say? Oh, 10. I told 10 people I'd never be here. How many did you tell? 30. Oh, you win.
Did they believe you? Yeah. Okay. Here's the thing. A week before Davos, Fast Company puts out a survey. And I was fascinated by this survey, but I had nobody to talk to. So I wanted to come and talk to you about it. This survey was about capitalism. It wanted to see what people thought about capitalism. And it was not good, Tom. And there was a huge deviation between an older crowd, 40 and above, and all young people. I want to tell you some of the results of the survey. I don't have visuals, but stay with me, baby birds. I'll feed you.
Okay.
The opinions on capitalism were noticeably polarized when broken down by age. 42% of those 40 and over had a positive view of capitalism. Makes
Okay.
sense, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
Only 24% of those under 40 said the same. In fact, 47%
Can I ask one question just to
Can you let me finish the premise, my friend? I can't get the premise out.
All right, go.
Welcome to my world.
Jesus.
Finish.
Okay. 47% of those young people had a negative opinion of capitalism. That's the premise. Go ahead, ask your question.
Did
Larry
they
David.
define capitalism? Because I think that 80% of the people surveyed in that study could not define capitalism.
This is where I want to go with the conversation. My question to you first, before I rant, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Why do you think there is such a big deviation between how the 40 and older generation feels about capitalism and why the young people in this country, and it's not just capitalism, it's the way they think about their future in this country. Why do you think younger people have such a negative view on capitalism, institutions, in the future?
There's a couple of reasons. One, because we've turned into a country of people that just bitch about everything. I mean, we are essentially just a nonstop. We're a bitch stream about everything.
Stop moaning, pull up your sleeves.
Exactly. We've become that culture of we just moan about everything.
Okay.
And which is not good. Our politicians are so bad that people become disenfranchised by the whole process. But the real reason that people don't embrace capitalism is just because nobody really understands what capitalism is. We've become an incredibly dumb society. We have smart people living in a dumb world. And unfortunately, we really don't understand opportunity at its core. That's it. It's that simple.
I think we've become a risk-adverse society.
Of course we have.
That's
because
what it
because
comes
people
down
don't
to.
understand opportunity. That's right.
Your answer infuriates me.
I'm sure it does.
It infuriates me because when you gave a speech one time that was called "Brains Over Bots."
Yeah.
It was one of the most inspirational speeches that I had ever
I still
heard.
give that speech.
Nice. I shouldn't have said that.
Can
Kinda like
you give it to me
Seinfeld.
at lunch today, please?
No,
Like
I use
Seinfeld,
that
your whole
speech.
shtick is like sourdough bread.
Yeah, something.
It's the same chord, just add a little bit to that. My point is this brains over bot speech that you gave.
Yeah.
It was inspiring to me in a world of algorithms, in a world of AI, in a world of automation. The idea that there was a guy in a firm that valued the way people thought over automation. They valued somebody's opinion. That was inspiring to me. When you say something like, we've got in a smart world filled with dumb people. What'd you say? Was that I'm paraphrasing.
Something
To that idea. Why isn't it that young people look at the median home price in 2015 that was about $280,000, and they now look at a home price that's $417,000, and their wage growth has not picked up? They look at their future and they don't see the potential of being a homeowner at the same extent that those were under 40, when they were their age, they saw that opportunity. Those over 40 more likely to be a homeowner. So perhaps the government policies, perhaps the monetary policies that are disproportionately benefiting asset holders is going to make those over 40 feel like, hey, everything's great. Capitalism is terrific. But those under 40 who look at these institutions, who see campaign finance has turned into our politicians serving the wealthy and powerful. Maybe it's always been that way. Maybe government has always been a way to balance the needs of the wealthy minority with the poor majority. Maybe it's always been that way. But when young people look out and they see we're giving subsidies to Intel again, great. They don't think, oh, I'm really excited to get a job at Intel's plant making semiconductors. They say, why do we keep giving billions of dollars to these companies to subsidize their future? Why is it we're always using this subsidy lever to pull? But when money goes to me, it's a problem. Why is it that we don't look at not only, campaign finance reform, But tax reform, why is it I'm paying this massive amounts of taxes as a percentage of income, but Amazon's paying 0% in income?
I mean,
I
first
know.
of all, this is an argument I'm making for I don't even know how many years.
I would agree with you that I think,
But there's a couple different. You're going all over the
wait,
place.
no,
just so you
I'm
know.
not. No, I'm not.
Okay.
My point is, I think you're right in that people are misguided in their anger. That I don't think young people are truly upset at capitalism. I think they look at the playing field and they say, this isn't working for me, I want something else.
Okay.
But what they're angry about, Tom, I don't think they're not angry at the capitalistic elements of our society. We're allowing people to fail, and we're not allowing corporations to fail. And we are socializing the losses, and all of this over and over and over is creating this mechanism that disproportionately benefits asset owners and not the individual. And I think that is the core reason why young people are frustrated, but they're frustrated at the wrong thing, in my personal opinion.
Well, they are frustrated at the wrong thing, but there's first of all, you did go all over the place.
What do you
and
mean?
you went all over the place
Okay,
because
fair
some
enough.
of the things, I mean, we've been talking about and advocating on the show for a decade now, which is reforming the tax code, making sure that the wealthy, both individuals and corporations, pay their fair share, all that kind of stuff, which requires, obviously bipartisan support and all that kind of stuff. But that's not the issue here. Let's go back to the fundamental discussion, which is, young people don't necessarily believe in capitalism because your argument is because they look at the potential for them to buy something and they can't see how they can get there.
Sure. Buy homes. They're
Buy
nervous
homes,
about
whatever.
AI automation and
Right.
the competition for labor,
Right.
for jobs,
Right.
things of that
Well,
nature.
they're nervous about AI automation because nobody fully understands it. Not just them, but nobody fully understands it. Hold on.
Go ahead.
The more important thing here, I think, is that they really, because they don't really understand what opportunity is. Like you're making it seem like this is a 2024 problem. There's no difference that when I was 22 years old, or Tony was 22 years old, and we were in the middle of a deep recession, or things are, there was no job. I mean, like, you guys think, oh my God, this is the first time. This is the same, basically, this is the same as it's been every year for the last 50 years. For kids that are graduating college, for young people, it's the same concerns. You're just packaging it up different. It's
You
not
just
any
mentioned
different.
something, education. Don't you think education's a little bit to blame for this? Education's become so expensive. It's almost like it's become a commoditized business.
It's not.
As opposed to a higher learning.
Okay, so my argument for that is not that education has become expensive, because you can't. That's a whole different problem, and how you control
but they-
educational costs. What the challenge is,
They don't come out
the
with it.
cost of changing a curriculum and the cost of changing what's
don't wanna hear
actually
that
being
bullshit.
taught is so prohibitive that we do the same stuff in different years. We teach the same stuff. We don't actually explain, the reason. If a house costs more money, if an asset costs more money now, there's a reason for that.
Correct.
And which means, to me, now you can look at this a bunch of different ways. The way I look at it is, if a house costs more money, that means there's a lot more opportunity.
If the house costs more money, there's more opportunity.
So if a house was $200,000
Okay.
10 years ago, and it's $400,000 today, basically what that means is that opportunity has doubled, or the chance to get from point A to point B. You basically have an opportunity to double along with the price of the house, which means that we are in.
There's no part of you that sees it as a function of monetary and fiscal policy.
No, not as the major part of it. I think that's unfair to what we call growth. I mean, growth is something you want to see. Housing prices go up. You want to see something that cost $100,000 10 years ago be $150,000 today. And to think that and if it goes to $200,000, who cares? Because that means that opportunity has gone up. It's basically completely symmetrical. That whole move, totally symmetrical. So somebody that had $100,000 worth of opportunity in 2010 may have $250,000 worth of opportunity in 2024, whether they realize it or not. The biggest problem is, and why that poll was so negative, or it was such a low number on capitalism, because nobody understands that. But if you understood that you have, because all valuations are symmetrical. I mean, occasionally things get emotionally out of whack, but everything's symmetrical. If you have an opportunity, if something goes from 100,000 to 250,000, that means you have 150% more opportunity than you had 10 years ago. That's it. That's why there's so many billionaires, say. That's why there's so many millionaires. I forget the number, but the numbers are insane. That's why there's so much wealth that has been created. I'm not saying it's not concentrated. I'm not saying there's not lots of other issues. But the reason that we've been in this kind of era is because there is so much more opportunity today than there was 10 years ago, than there was 20 years ago, than there was 50 years ago. Period.
Okay.
And I'm never going to look at that as a negative.
I will concede that I think the anger is misguided. I do not. How can you say that fiscal policy and monetary policy is having no impact to doubling the cost of the median home price in 2 short years? We went from like 200-something thousand in 2019 to $400,000.
I don't think the jump was that great, but I also think there was a lot of things that happened in that period that created demand, and by the way, that will all normalize. As you saw, like, you're making an argument for something that, for one marketplace, that may be out of whack. If you said the same thing,
he's talking about not letting corporations fail.
I know, but you said something before we get to that. You said something before about when you talk about real estate, you're talking about personal real estate. I mean, 10 years ago, you could have made the same argument for commercial real estate. They were basically trading commercial real estate just in 2019. Commercial real estate was trading essentially at a 5% carry. Sure. Now it's a fraction of that. Like, I mean, prices have been chopped by 60%. Markets will come back to kind of some fair market value at some point. Okay, and and that's just, eventually. I'm not saying they can't continue to go up, because price is not necessarily mean reverting, but what will happen is real estate prices will come back to fair value. So wherever that number should be, it'll get back to there. This is just, a byproduct of a continuation of what we saw in the pandemic, and then obviously lots of building, not building for so many years, and just there's limited supply. As soon as that market rolls over, you're going to have tons of supply, prices will come down. Everything will normalize.
So just be patient, young people. That's your argument?
No, just stop worrying about things you can't control.
But there are estimates that companies like Blackstone, Blackrock.
Yeah, they bought a lot of properties up.
Not only have they bought a lot of properties, I think they own something like 6% of single-family homes, but there's a projection out a decade that number could be as much as 30%. So your argument, in a world where there isn't massive amounts of investment capital that's waiting to scoop up valuable real assets and paper assets, that probably works. But as the individual wants to sell the home, it's who's buying it. And how do you know that in the next 5 or 10 years you're going to have a correction in asset prices?
That's the way capitalism works. And these companies like Blackstone that are buying up all this real estate now, as soon as there's a downtick, they'll be out on every single property. Last thing they wanted. This will turn out to be one of a very average, mediocre, losing investment for them. At different level. Who knows? We don't really understand how cyclical economies are. That's why they had an opportunity in 2008, and from 2008 to 2020, and they seized it. But they're going to choke on most of this stuff. I mean, at least that's what I think. They're going to choke on this, and they're going to push housing prices back to a very reasonable level. I think what's more important is not understanding that there's opportunity here. Like, I think there's a generation that doesn't get that you're probably entering the world and the workforce at the most opportunistic time in history, because based on what you can do, because the cheap price of technology, and based on all the different opportunities you have with all these different companies, and everybody's innovating and creating and doing all this stuff, I think there's more opportunity now than there's ever been in the history of this country. So I don't look at this as a negative.
For generational wealth, I'll agree with you. For a sustained living, I think it's become a little tougher.
All right. I mean,
Yeah, I'm just telling you. And listen, when we were in that room, because sometimes I get to see that room that Tom goes in and gives the high fives to everybody, we came up with the tiny home. We never had tiny homes when I was growing up. You now have the opportunity to have a tiny home.
I do agree with you that economics are cyclical, markets are cyclical, but sometimes you get sustained trends.
You do.
In 2007, when the smartphone was introduced, it had sustained shifts in human behavior.
Sure.
And I think we just lived through a period of time that I think we're.
Is that good or bad?
What do you mean, is it good or bad?
Smartphone. Smartphone, good or bad?
On balance, you want my real answer?
You're going to say bad, but it's really good, and you know it is, and you know that the technology behind the smartphone has basically been one of the drivers with this massive economic growth that we've had over the last 2 decades.
I believe we live in an information age, but we also live in the dark ages. I believe we've never had more access to information, and I believe we've never been more misinformed. I believe that when I
Is that a bad thing?
Hold on. Yes, it's a horrible thing, because
Really?
if you live in capitalism where you're trying to find the true price of an asset, if you're in a country where you're trying to find the right policy to decide on as a society, you need truth. You can't have spin all over the place on assets and CEO stories and politicians' narratives.
How do you get to the truth?
People,
How do you get to the truth? How do you get to the truth?
Needs the truth.
There's only one way to get to the truth.
What do you mean?
There's only one way, because you can argue about the narrative as much as you want. The only way you can get to the truth, and the only way is through efficient markets. And the only way you get to efficient markets is by leveling the playing field, commoditizing everything, and that's what that technology does. There's no truth when just because you take away technology doesn't mean that doesn't put you any closer to the truth. You think getting rid of misinformation brings you closer to the truth?
That's not the point. What you asked me whether I thought cell phones were a good thing, and it's going to sound really weird to for a younger. I'm not really that young. A millennial guy to say no. I don't think they've had a net benefit. I think giving away all of our personal privacy is not a good thing. Creating a platform where 2.5 billion people are sharing all of their private information in the hands of one person who sits in front of Congress, who's
Based
done, now,
on
hold
what?
on. He's done 6. I think he's testified in front of Congress 6 times now. Each time, by the way, he gets more and more relaxed. His first one, he was sitting up straight in the chair,
Zuckerberg?
Tony. Yeah, he sat up straight in the chair. He said, "Thank you very much for your question,
I understand,
Senator."
but how are you arguing that it's not? How are you arguing that? Listen, if you,
I don't believe it's made us a more productive society, nor do I think it's had benefit to us as
has it made us a more opportunistic society?
more opportunistic. I think there are better ways to target individuals to sell them shit. But capitalism and consumerism are 2 different things. And if you want a nation of capitalists, you're not trying to target them to suck out as much as you can from those people to get them to buy certain assets from their social media feeds. That's not capitalism.
I understand that
getting them to understand game theory, getting them to understand efficient prices, that's important.
You
Not
can't have
serving them
one-
up personalized ads.
You can't have one without the other, but you cannot argue that what has happened over the last 2 decades, technology-wise, driven socially, has not had a huge benefit to all the economies all around the world. That's why every market, essentially everywhere, is trading at all-time highs. It's a ridiculous argument to sit here and say that hasn't worked. It has worked. Whether you like it or not, that's fine. You don't have to like it. You don't have to think that Mark Zuckerberg is great, or that Facebook is great, or that anything, or Twitter, or whatever you want to talk about. You don't have to like any of it. But the reality is that it has made us into a more opportunistic society. It has created more opportunity than ever before in the history of the world. We have created more wealth. And I'm not talking about generational, forget that. I'm just saying it has created more opportunity, more wealth, and more more forward-looking opportunity than we've ever seen before.
What does technology advance do to the lowest skilled worker in the workforce?
It gives them hope. It does, because again, it levels the playing field.
Okay.
That's what it does. It basically says that
So you think the 68,000 people, unhoused people in Chicago right now?
Don't give me an unhoused people. I say that everybody with a cell phone has more opportunity today than they had before they had the cell phone. That's my argument.
That's fair. I wouldn't disagree with that.
Okay. Don't give me unhoused people. Okay, I'm not getting into that. I mean, listen,
Martin Luther King had that speech in January 1965 in a Playboy. They have great articles, Tony, I'm told. At present time, I'm going to read this and I'm out. Am I done?
You're done.
Am I over?
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead.
At present time, thousands of jobs a week are disappearing in the wake of automation and other production efficiency techniques. Black and white, we will all be harmed unless something grand and imaginative is done.
I know he listen, brilliant guy.
Don't do this.
He was wrong.
Don't do this.
He's wrong. Okay, this is classic, but they're wrong. And this is before anybody really understood what technology. They're wrong.
So you look in the future of AI and you see massive job creation. You don't see structural unemployment on the horizon.
You heard my discussion yesterday.
I was rage screaming at my television.
Okay. And my argument with AI is no, I do not see mass destruction, end of the world. I see the amount of asymmetric opportunity created by AI, if it's used to level the playing field, is going to help the average Joe more than it's going to help kind of the concerns about the concentration of wealth and or risk.
Last question. I know I'm way over. Sorry, Beth.
No, go ahead, my man.
Are they mad at me in the chat?
No, they're actually liking you.
Okay.
But you have those that hate you, but those really that like you.
Good. That's how you know you're doing something. If they hate you. So if the economy is terrific, why are we talking about universal basic income? If the economy,
universal basic income has been on the table forever.
If the economy is efficient and it's doing the work for everybody, why are we having the conversation? Why does Dean Phillips is he promoting the idea of doing universal basic income testing in 5 or 7 different markets to then roll out to the entire country?
I mean, listen, it has long been on the table. I do not think it is the best solution or a really good solution at all, but it is something that appeals to a certain group of people, and that group of people can have an influence on somebody like him being elected. And I think that makes a difference. You know, you kind of sometimes have to realize, is this really what we need, or is this just for political gain? Like, you know, I mean, is this the one loose end that somebody else hasn't jumped on? You know, is this the one grenade that nobody's taken? Everybody, you know, all these politicians are full of crap on so many levels, and they all just find whether it's a border wall, whether it's universal income, whatever, it doesn't matter what it is. You know, they pick a topic that they think can build a base, and then they roll with it. That's their whole shtick. You need something. You need a differentiator. I don't believe any of it.
Fair enough. Can I speak to the camera real quick?
Sure can. Go right
Starting
ahead.
March 4th, the price of truth. I'm not a man with answers. I'm a man with questions. I'm going to have lots of guests out there to come in and ask hopefully informed questions too on both sides of the aisle. And I hope you'll join me March 4th.
Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Central.
5 p.m. That's right.
Beautiful. Thank you, Victor. Appreciate your time. We're going to take a quick 90-second break and come back. We got more Tasty Live after this with a market measure next.